Hello, my friend. Stay a while and listen.
What's going on YouTube? It's Filthy and we're back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about whether Season 26, the theme, sucks or not. We're going to talk about some of the good things to it, some of the bad things. Before we do jump in though guys, as always, thumbs up really does help out the channel. Subscribe if you enjoy Diablo 3. Been bashing the videos out pretty regularly. I'm going to try and keep that going moving forwards, at least for another week or so. I'm probably going to stick with this season rather than go off and play Diablo 2. But we will have to see how that goes. And we've got a Diablo Immortal announcement coming up pretty soon, so that's going to be pretty interesting. I think just by way of, I guess, background before we start this off, where are we up to? We are on day 8 of the season, so this is the Saturday. I've had work today, so I really haven't had much chance to play. But this season I have blasted probably a bit more than normal. We've put in 40 hours on the Monk, 15 hours on the Barb, so that's like 55, 2.5 on the Demon Hunter, 2.5 on the Witch Doctor, so that's about 60, and then 5 on the Necro. So about 65 hours, which is obviously quite a lot. You know, it by no means is this casual play at the moment, but I have kind of had the opportunity to go pretty hard early on. We've done 5 minutes of Wizard, which is just a power level, and then Crusader we only managed to last 1 minute 45 seconds. That's what she said. But obviously we haven't got this character up to 70, so it's been mostly Monk on DPS. I've done a bit of Z-barbing. We leveled on the Barb as well. Only a couple of hours on the ZDH, finding it really hard to get into groups as a ZDH. Barb, there are just no Barbs. Any offer to group play is Z-barb. We need Z-barb, Z-barb, Z-barb. So I have been jumping in for that. My solo stuff has been Monk, mostly for keys, mostly for bounties, but I have made a Necro now for keys. This is how we're powering this up, and this is how we're powering up the Witch Doctor with the bounties. Now, despite the Paragon being 1662, which again for me at this stage is really high, I've only done 384 rifts, probably about 80 or 100 of those at T16s, so I've barely run any rifts, and that is because I've spent most of my time playing Echoing Nightmares. I've done over 100 of them. Again, 95% plus of those have been as a damage dealer on the Inner Monk. I'll just show you some of the spawn doolies that we've got here. I've got all of these, and we've orged like 20 pieces or something. So yeah, we've played the Echoing Nightmares quite a lot, so I think I can give some pretty good feedback now that it is in the game, and basically talk about whether it sucks or not. And I think some people are going to say yes, and some people are going to say no. I think both have got their valid points. So I guess let's start off with, does it suck? Because I guess that's why a lot of people are here. Now, honestly, this is the most negative I've seen the community about a season theme. Obviously, the early ones probably weren't great when we look back on them now. You know, double goblins, pretty crap. The double bounties, look, it's really, really usable. That's a good thing. We've had that as a mid-season boost. We've had the double goblins as a mid-season boost, but you know, neither of those two things are going to cut it as a season theme now. Rogue was a lot of fun at the time, but again, you know, now with the way the season themes have gone, they've just got better and better. You know, they've all been kind of interesting. We've had lots of different season themes, but this is definitely the one that I've seen the most negativity to. So the first negative issue, I think, really is the drop rate of the keys to enter. So we've got a season theme, and it's one of the first ones whereby there is no season theme until you find one of these petrified screams. Now, the drop rate seems to be about 5%. That's what I'm hearing in the community. I personally think it's a little bit lower than that. I don't know how many keys I've used, but I've got 11, and we've played, as I say, we haven't played that many rifts, so I don't know, maybe 1 in 20 rifts one of these is dropping. Maybe that is reasonable. They certainly feel a little bit rarer than that, but again, with a low 5% chance, it's hard to say. Now, you only need one of these to open an Echoing Nightmare for a group of 4. So if you are social, as we talked about in the other video about how to find petrified screams, if you're a group player, this is just super easy to get. There's constantly messages going on here in the Great Rift chat. Carry me to 150 plus damage dealers for Echoing Nightmares. I've got 15 keys. I'm looking for people to group with. So for group players, does the drop rate suck? No, not at all. Would I like it to be higher? Yes, because ultimately, if it's the season theme mode, we should be able to play it, like a lot. And at a 5% drop chance, I think it is a little bit low. But if you're social, if you do have plenty of friends in the game, if you're happy to get in to the Great Rift chat and find groups and stuff, then the drop rate is probably okay. If you're a solo only player, the drop rate probably sucks. It's going to be really bad because you could just get unlucky. Now with a 5% drop rate, the longer you play the game, the best of the drop rate's going to feel, because it just averages out over time. If you only play to do the season journey, if you only play like 800 Paragon, 1000 Paragon, it's a really underwhelming season theme because you just can't get into it. Maybe you got lucky, maybe you got 4 or 5 keys, maybe you got unlucky and you got 1 or 2. An Echoing Nightmare lasts about 2 minutes if you make it all the way to wave 150. So you've played a full season for potentially 10 minutes, 20 minutes max worth of Echoing Nightmare game time. So it does seem a little bit of a shame that for solos, for casuals, it is so rare. Because it is a gateway. Now, normally speaking, when you've got a season theme, if we think back to the Triune Rings, if we think back to the cube being open, or the 4th cube slot, the shadow clones, kill streaks, we've had lots of ones where just the theme is working for you all the time. Now, sometimes the theme's only worked in rifts, sometimes it's worked in Nephilim rifts as well, and bounties, just the whole shebang. So I can understand somebody saying this season sucks because there's just no impact. I can't get into it. I can't see it. I mean, all I can say is if you play long enough, you will find some keys, but ultimately they are over very quickly, and then you got to go find some more keys. So I can kind of see that as being one of the first reasons to say it sucks. Personally, I'm a fan of things being rare. I like finding loot. I'm a loot chase kind of guy, so rare drops I think are good. Primals always get me excited, and I think if we go back to ethereals, one of the things that made that good was that you have to find the ethereal first, and then you had to find the right ethereal with the right power, and then you had to find the right one with the stats. So it was like you got like a nice little dopamine moment when you got one. Same for the soul shards, really. You then got another one when you upgraded it, or you inspected the item to see is it the right one, and you kind of looked and built from there. Whereas this is now just like, do I find one of these things at the end of the rift or not? If I do, I'm nice and happy because it's rare, and if not, well, I feel maybe a little bit cheesed off because I didn't get one. Looking at the mode specifically, maybe we'll put some footage up over this bit because otherwise it might be a bit boring me just sit here talking. The mode initially, I think, did feel fresh. It did feel kind of fun. The maps obviously are very repetitive because they're all kind of essentially just a diamond or a square. The pylon situation, I'm still personally unhappy they took the shield pylon out. I think, again, for solo casual players, it's not great. I would have preferred them to have left the shield in. I would say that the explosions in there just make no sense at all to me. The molten explosions are physical. The poison meteors that hit the ground are physical. They will kill you all the time. I've been doing group Echoing Nightmares. I've got all my stuff on this monk here, and I've got like 273 million toughness or whatever, 164 million toughness, a life pool of 2 million, 1600 Paragon. Even if you go in with a Z-Barb and the ZDH, you'll still pretty much get 2 banged by any of the meteors or any of the explosions, which is really unfortunate because obviously it does get pretty hectic in there, it does get pretty messy, and what it basically means is you can't play a melee build in there. You have to play a ranged build to be able to get to wave 150. It's really hard. Like Inner Monk can just about do a little bit of range. This may be, I don't know what the distance from like this waypoint to Kadala that the Mystic Allies will travel in their waveform. But ultimately, if you want to go and start trying to do a Hammer of the Ancients Barbarian, you're going to get absolutely slammed. you either die to the explosions, or you find it really hard to cut the conduit portals, the portals that bring the enemies in. So from that point of view, it's really disappointing, because it means that like all you're seeing in these Echoing Nightmares is Marauder, because it's ranged. It's the best one for doing ranged, and you have to get up to wave 120, 125, 130, whatever it is, before you take your conduit. And the reason I didn't want the shield pylon taking out is because we've just completely killed build diversity this season. This is the least diverse build season, I think, ever, because it is just Marauder, Marauder, Marauder. And if you're not playing Marauder, chances are you're playing Inner Monk, and they're the only two things. So from that point of view, it's going to be very difficult, very, very challenging, I think, to clear 150 on a bunch of classes and a bunch of builds. So making a game mode that really, really... the mechanics of the game mode, I should say, rather than the game mode itself, to only suit ranged classes, I think is a bit of a mistake. I would like it, at the very least, if they took the molten explosions and turned them back into fire, and that way, if you wanted to do a melee build, you could use the Star of Azkaranth, and you could be immune to that damage, and then you just have to dodge the poison meteors. I think it makes no sense for it all to be physical and to just one or two shot you. And it comes up really quick as well. Like, even, I mean, I'd say from about Paragon 1500, and really putting some points into Vitality, I did notice I was not getting one shot anymore. But in general, even at like really early waves, like 40 or 50, if you get clipped by an explosion, that's it, you're on your cheat death. And you've now got to be really careful with avoiding stuff. And I don't mind the mode being hard. You know, I think it should be hard if it's going to be rare, if it's going to give great XP, if it's going to be rewarding to do. I don't mind it being hard. But what I mind is that you're basically sort of saying, well, the only really thing you can do is play the Marauder DH. You know, if you want to do the best possible, it's Marauder DH. If you want to have a next best, probably the Inner Monk. And after that, forget it. Just most other things are going to be really, really hard to get to 150. Or you're basically just looking to avoid, try and see if you can damage enough stuff to get that Condi. So it is cool that we've got a new mode. You know, it definitely doesn't suck that we've got a new mode. Definitely doesn't suck we've got a new activity. I still feel quite fresh to go and do GRs because I've spent so much time on Echoing Nightmares, but just the way it's designed, I think is a little bit of an issue. One of the reasons that this might suck, actually going back on to the drop rate of Primal Screams briefly, is that there's going to be some rife botting this season, like ultra rife botting. And basically people are just going to have bot accounts. They're going to run I've already seen it in chat, people linking 50 plus petrified screams. You know, like, I mean, it is possible, I guess, to collect up that many by doing it naturally. But realistically, if you're seeing lots of people doing that, then it's probably juicing. They've got some kind of bot account that can, you know, run through GR, like even if it's just 75 over and over and over again to get the keys. So you're going to see some crazy Paragon, I think, later in the season, because the XP is bananas, and all the player has to do is then make an Inner Monk, make a Marauder DH preferably, and then sit there and burn all their keys and go through it. So again, you maybe a little bit of a negative to it. I guess we've probably spent a bit of time bashing the season theme. Let's talk about what we do like. As I say, it is new. That is good. That is refreshing. The best thing about it for me, the rewards. XP obviously is good. As I say, this is the highest that I've ever been. I haven't like ground my face off doing rats, which is nice. I do also really like the augment gems. It's going to be fun, I think, to build out a lot of things. I'm quite optimistic and excited, I think, to get a lot of things done. So maybe I'll, I've got a few augments to finish on the Inner Monk. Maybe I'll go and make the rest of the monks. Maybe I'll play all the necros. Maybe I'll play all the wizards. It's it depends what's going on in video game world, but certainly the option is there. And to do the petrified screams, to do the Echoing Nightmares, and get the augments, I think it's quite good. I mean, we need an augment shortcut in the game, and if this is the way into it, then so much, so be it, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. What I would say about the season in terms of like where do we rank it, well, it's hard to think of too many seasons that I didn't prefer. Should we phrase it like that? Is that okay to phrase it like that? So Ethereal's much better. Open cube, much better. Fourth cube, much better. Kill streaks, much better. Elemental effects one, that was a bit cheese. I wasn't too fond of that. Trine rings, didn't really float my boat too much. What else have we got? Lon, double bounties, rogue. I don't think we'll see those kind of seasons again. But all in all, I would like it to make it into the game as a main system, a way to shortcut augmenting, because augmenting is a bit of a pain in the butt. If you want to play all the classes, it's really, really hard to do. But yeah, I guess those are my thoughts. Does it suck? I mean, I've had a blast. I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to be carrying on the season. I've got a lot to do. Quite excited to get everything orged up. And as I say, I think having an extra mode definitely helps with the freshness. You know, if you keep this in the game for next season, it'll still be exciting to find the keys. One potential fix, I think, to the bossing and that kind of thing would be to make it so that it's a solo-only event. You can only solo an Echoing Nightmare. But again, that then will also still push everybody down that meta pathway, which, I mean, the leaderboard filters that we've had for a while, you know, they do make it fun in terms of we can go off and push what we want. You know, and I'm going to set up a push necro and try and see if I can get this top clan spot, which shouldn't be too much bother at some points. But just the fact that I feel like we're almost more forced to just do this one particular build, I think is the main downside. But all in all, I would say to the dev team, props for trying something new. It is a game mode that we can play, that we can use. Maybe with some tweaks moving forwards, we can get this into a little bit of a better state. I would really like to be able to do it with almost any build in the game. So I guess that's going to be some kind of rework about the explosions. Provided you got enough damage, the damage output, you can play the builds well. But yeah, it does strike me that melee builds are just like a total no-go. But we haven't really tried yet, so I don't know. Maybe we'll make a Hammer of the Ancients barb and just see if we get our face blown off or what happens with that. But yeah, they're the thoughts. As I say, a lot of negativity in the community, a lot of negativity on the forums. Season of Insta skip. I put up a vote. I'm not sure. A few people did completely skip the season. A few people did say that, you know, they really liked it. I'd say those two groups were about equal on the vote, and then the rest of it was a little bit like, I think we need more drops, or realistically, it just feels like playing non-season, because I just don't see these Echoing Nightmares enough. Right, that is enough rambling for today. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this season sucks? Have you been enjoying it? Would you make some changes to it? And on a final note, please, Blizz, please turn on double bounties. We need them to do the reforging. I've been good. I've got a few saved up, but I'm going to need hundreds of these by the time we're done augmenting every build in the game, if that's what we choose to do. I've been the Filthy Casual. Take it easy. Peace.